35. You played the record. Your creepy son.
Okay, hopefully that'll work. All right. Hello, everyone. Hello.
Alright.
Hey, what's up, babe?
Yo.
Yo. Yeah, I got this on my push to talk as well. It's gonna be a little weird because I have the hotkey set for my keyboard, but like my space on the keyboard, but like I'll be using obviously my box, so it'll be a little weird, but I think it's worth it because honestly, if I don't do this, your audio is just gonna be like.
Yeah, let me, let's see.
Like the only thing that I thought of
Ty?
that might have been able to, the only thing that I thought of that might have been able to help was maybe like turning on RTX voice and stuff like that. But that shit also like diminishes the mic quality, and it's like yeah.
All right, I'm gonna turn this down. Okay, and I'm gonna turn that up like that. All right, so Calvin, can you help us? Can you tell us if like the music's good and like you can hear Galen's voice as well?
Hello, 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 hello. How are you, Calvin? Hello, love you. Hurrah, 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 yeah, hurrah, Calvin, yeah. Did I plug it? I did not. Aha.
So yeah, did you have stuff planned out?
I had basically what we were gonna do is like kind of keep it a little bit like loosey goosey for this first one, so that's why I was like chill with us like just playing and talking. Like it doesn't really matter if it kind of like gets derailed a little bit or we're just focusing, but at the same time it's just like I thought it'd be fun to like kind of talk and play at the same time. I think it'd be a good idea, but yeah, the agenda was like there. I don't know. I feel like I want to just like talk about like I guess we could start off like with mindsets of just like what's like I guess the starting mindset that you take. Like say you go to like a local or like your friendlies or something like that. Like what's like the mindset that you just sit there and you're thinking about and you're like, am I gonna like try to like try hard and beat all these guys, do my best? Am I gonna try to like just play my best and it doesn't matter if I get like four stocked or shit on or like do you what do you normally do? Like tournament, friendlies, what do you do?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to start. First, can I get your code?
Yeah. It's Gale number 527, and then let me know yours as well.
527. And I'm thinking it's gonna be near impossible to play and talk at the same time if we have push to talk. So I turned mine off.
That's what I was thinking as well, but I was like worried like about the clickety clack. But I'm like it kind of like if we're just doing it loosey goosey and we're just like whatever, then it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm searching for you. I'm Bird 852.
Bird 852. Okay. Once. Okay, now that that's off. Bird 852, you said?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's the like the one downside of like on box, like when you're trying to talk. But yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good question. And for anyone that's just chilling, listening to the stream, Galen the Wise is another box player, so this is I started playing on the box like just this past month, but he's been on it. You said what, for like 5 years?
I've been on it. So like I started Smashbox like June or July of like 2017 because that's when like the alpha was out and shit like that. And then
okay, it's like 3 years.
It was like 2.5 years until I switched over to box, and then like I had like about a year and a half so far, almost 2 years of box. So it's been about like 3.5 years.
Okay, sick. So yeah, and then we met through the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, thought we could talk about just some stuff. So that's where we're at now. And to answer your question, I'm just turning melee down because it's so fucking loud.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I could probably do the same as well, but it's only just my voice and me talking. So
there we go. So to answer your question, my mentality when going to like locals specifically.
Okay, yeah.
I'll tell you. So in Colorado, and it's interesting because I've been in like 2 different Smash scenes.
Yeah.
2 very different Smash scenes. And in Colorado, when I was a newbie, I knew going into it that I was like obviously not going to be that great. And so what I would do is I would go, but I wouldn't pay to enter. because I'm kind of a cheapskate, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, if I know that I'm gonna lose, I don't want to go put money on it just to try and learn something.
Yeah.
And it's really what the goal is. To, for me at least, it was to learn. And so that was kind of my mentality, and I didn't want to have to waste money to learn. So
I feel that.
I would go and play like as many friendlies as I could, you know, even if I get, you know, not a ton, I would still be able to justify, you know, at least showing up and putting the work in to try and play people. But when it comes to something like nationals, all of a sudden, you're in like a bit of a different space, and you have paid a substantial amount of money.
Yeah.
So you're thinking like, okay, well, there's a little more on the line. You know, I still could assume that I'm not going to get top 8.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I'm here, and I don't want to jimmy out at like first round.
No, I feel you. Hi, Hobbs, and hello, Bubby. How you all doing? Hi, Larry. And to continue on from that point, yeah, no, I feel you. Like when I play against people, like when I first started like going to locals, the mentality that I took, like regardless of GCC controller or box or what have you, was, you know, like I didn't even start going to like tournaments for like a fat while, like 2-ish years. Like I would just practice like tech skill in my room most of the time because, you know, in my mind I was like, I don't want to like, you know, try to like enter a tournament and put money on my name, like kind of like you, where if I don't like know how to like execute everything that like my mind is trying to use as like a mind game, you know, if I like want to do this like dash dance like mind game, I need to know how to execute how to dash dance. So like that was my mentality. So I like really didn't care whether or not I lost. I would like, you know, play against people and be like, yeah, I lose or whatever or something like that. That's cool. But it's like, you know, I've come from other side of the FGC as well. You know, I'm pretty used to like you gotta get your ass kicked before you can kick some ass yourself. So
yeah, well, and it's interesting because like, so I started off in Colorado, which has a pretty like substantial scene, right? We had Cyrox, Eichelman was there for a while. Like,
yeah,
the place has seen some good melee,
yeah.
and that's when I knew, like, going into locals, like, I didn't have much of a chance. But then when I moved out to Tennessee, all of a sudden, I was, like, a top 3 contender for my small region.
Yeah.
So my mentality had to change a little bit, because now, all of a sudden, like, I very much did have a chance to win some money.
And that's crazy, too, because, like, you know, all that pressure to perform, it's so heavy on, like, one's, like... And even for a small region, like, where you're just like, yeah, whatever, even if I don't do anything, I'm, like, guaranteed, like, top 3 or whatever, but instead, you know, everyone's constantly sitting there thinking, well, yeah, you know, you're, like, one of the few people that is in your region that's pretty good, so naturally you're probably going to win your locals, right? And then you're like, yeah, no, I got, like, second, and you're like, well, but how, you're really good, right? And it's just, like, that constant, like, you know, always, like, you gotta... like make somebody like impressed kind of feeling, and it's like that's why I don't really like personally being ranked or whatever. It's just it always seems to put you on that pedestal of like potential failure. Now that's like my own mentality, but like yeah,
well, and it's, dude, I've kind of always thought that like it's interesting, one, how much like one set can matter, right? You see, and don't get me wrong, like for example, Plup beating Armada in Evo, that was not Evo, sorry, Genesis.
Yes.
That was like absolutely huge. Like that one set was legendary.
Yeah.
And Plup deserves to be like sort of praised for that win.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, it's like that's really the only time it happened, you know? So while it should be like honored, it's like, does it really matter that much in the grand scheme of things? And please take every dub you get. Again, like I don't want to like
yeah, you want to
at all.
You want to be able to give yourself that confidence, but at the same time, you don't want to have that sense of realism about it, and not be like, you know, after you like your opponent SDs 3 times and then you manage to take 1 stock and you're like, yeah, I won, I did. You're like, you know, be careful, you know, like.
I remember I was at a local once, pretty small local, where I was playing a secondary.
Yeah.
And I was playing against someone that I generally beat, like with Falco, like no question, right? He kind of the mentality, he's like, oh, I'm gonna lose to Swami every time.
Oh yeah, that mentality, yeah.
Yeah, and I was playing a secondary, so this time it went down to the last game, and he ended up winning. And you could tell for him, that was a big win. like he wanted to do that so bad. And
Yeah.
again, take the W. He played well. He beat me. That's fine. But it's like you beat a secondary, so it's like I don't
Yeah.
know. How much does that one match really matter? And I think Smashers put a lot of pressure on one match instead of like not a lifetime necessarily, but more of like a rap sheet, you know?
And I think that comes down to a line of like, you know, what are your goals? Like what motivates you to keep like continuing on, you know? Like, you know, for some of us, you know, it's like that feeling of, you know, maybe my rival, friendly rival or whatever is just like out there or something like that. And, you know, I'm tired of being his shadow or something like that, regardless of if it's a secondary or a main or whatever. And, you know, I've been working hard, I've been studying the matchup or whatever. There are some of these people that really like, this is the stuff that pushes them to be. This is a part of like identity, a part of purpose, you know, that we talked about earlier. So like, you know, if they're sitting there and that's their mentality, that they, even if it's just that one set that they want, they're like, I just want to prove it to myself that I can do it. That's what's going to keep motivating them to like keep trying. So like if they can, like, if you can always identify that, then it's a lot easier to like see what matters to people. Like Smashers, like, you know, like if someone pops off against me or something like that after they've been like struggling to get the W against me or something like that in tournament or in friendlies or whatever, I'll, you know, I feel it, you know, and it's hard to just be like, you know, I'm glad that, you know, that matters to you so much or something like that. And like, cause it's that little tiny like defense mechanism that pops up and you're just like, all right, you know, cool, you won, whatever. But it's like at the same time understanding that they want that win just like you do. They've been working for it just like you have. Maybe they were at that point just like you
know
were.
the feeling. You know how good it feels to beat someone even once.
Yeah.
You beat them once and it's just like, this is possible, this feels good.
Yeah, this is exactly...
Like I guess you can't just stop there.
Yeah, it's exactly how I felt about like streaming recently. You know, you get that taste of like, oh, I've got like, you know, the ability to like actually like, you know, get some viewage or something like that. You get that taste and all of a sudden you're like, man, I really want to keep grinding. I want to keep doing this. You build confidence. Confidence is key. But yeah, so...
It's the same thing too, I'm thinking. Even that one loss, don't let that one loss like define you. Just like you don't want that one win to define you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you don't want to like carry it around as identity. I feel like that's how
the lucky syndrome. Is that what we call that?
Yeah, I can understand that. Where you're like, and then there's also like, you know, I have one of my friends, and their mentality is very like, they don't know how to give themselves credit for when credit is due. They're always constantly demeaning themselves or undermining their like achievements or something like that, or being like underplaying themselves, or being like, yeah, you know, whatever, I do this and that. And you're like, no, that's not just what you do. Like you've gotten good wins, you've beaten good people, you have you know, good execution and all that stuff. It like, you know, obviously you could work on the mentality when you know, deal with losses or something like that, but like these are things that every player has to do regardless, but like they just don't know how to give themselves credit is all I'm saying essentially. And that's really, really hard for like certain players, because everyone has their like little thing that like keeps them like barricaded from feeling like they are free at playing the game. You know, like there's no more blockade, there's no ego, there's no like, oh, this person's so like better than me, like I can't believe I lost to this not even ranked person kind of thing. You know, like the ego dissolves and you all of a sudden you're just like playing the game.
Right, and it's less about the win or the loss and more about just the game itself.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people like remember that that's like what got you there to begin with, is that like you wanted to play the game, you wanted to be good at the game regardless of who it is that you ended up beating. And because that's the one thing that like I always like wondered about like myself, like if I ever got to like a higher level, is like how would my ego and my identity develop? Like would I find that like with a loss or something like that this game like, you know, is like my identity or my purpose is somehow being threatened? Like some of these people who have been like bored on net play, am I like gonna just sit there and like take a winner's mentality about it and just like roll with the punches as they come? Like how am I gonna react? And I think having that sense of understanding that you're a player just like anybody else, and that's it, it's really good, but it's also really hard to get there when you like, you take a few hot like level sets or something against like people. You start understanding and your mind starts telling you, you're good, dude. You actually know what you're doing.
And you're right. Okay, so here's what this makes me think of is I mean, hold on one sec.
Yeah, I got you. I got
talking
you.
100 health.
But I just want the dub. No.
No, please.
Yeah, let's go. All right.
So basically, knowing that you're capable is a big part of being good at this game, because that's when I feel like a big jump. Something that I learned from Cyrox for a big jump in mentality is think less about who you're playing and think more about what you're playing against, right? You're playing against Fox, you're playing against Falco. You know how this character works. And yeah, that person can be an insane player, but they have the same character mechanics. And so when you focus more on the matchup itself and not I'm playing against Estvad or I'm playing against Westballs, you're just like, I'm playing against a very fast Falco and like, he's gonna murder me, but these are the things I know that I can do against Falco, and I'm capable of doing those things because I know that I'm a decent player.
And I think that's really good because like when you start turning off your brain, like, and you start letting your muscle memory kind of do that, it helps strengthen that.
Whoop. Yeah, it's like, and that's the big other thing. It's like we call them gods, and these people, we revere them so much. Honestly, you're probably closer skilled to some of these people than you think. They're just like execution and reflexes are way better than you because they've been doing it for years.
Yeah, that's why I try to tell people, like, whenever they're like, like, I'm not very good at this game or whatever, the first thing I ask them, I'm just like, tell me, how long have you been playing? And most of the time they tell me that they've been playing like for a very small amount of time. In my mind, like, some people will tell me, yeah, I've been playing for a few months. Yeah, I've been playing for like a year or something like that. Shit, even 3 years. And I'm just like, yeah, I've been around the block long enough now to be like, you just need more time. Usually that's almost how it always comes down to. But the point is that this notion of like, I have to be good at something immediately when I touch it. I have to have that instant gratification of just like, let me be good as I think I am, as my ego has built myself up to feel that I am, because it's so hard for some of these people, or in general, like players that are struggling mentally wise with like, whatever, to understand that they like, you don't always just pick something up and just do amazing. It just doesn't work that way. People that have been sitting there playing the game for like almost a decade plus, like I have, or even longer, it's just how it goes. Someone's got to take the L. Someone's gonna take the dub.
Well, okay, it reminds me. There's a TED talk I listened to called "Why Everyone Can Draw and Why Nobody Thinks They Can," or something like that. And it's basically this like old guy, he's on stage.
Yeah.
And it's about, you have to change your perspective of like what you're considering like drawing. For example, people are like, well, I can't draw the Mona Lisa, so I'm not an artist. It's like, well, bullshit, dude. You can draw anything and be considered an artist.
An artist, yeah, exactly. It's
what are you comparing yourself to is the question. Like, are you gatekeeping what it means to be an artist, and like, are you gatekeeping what it means to be a good melee player? And you can do that just mentally, like a mental block. Not even like very intentionally, but in your mind you're like, oh well, I'll never be that good, or I can never do that. It's like, well, man, you have to put in the work, but you can always start somewhere.
I think this is actually a great place to like swing it over to like some anecdotal experiences or something like that. So like, what are some of like times where you've like, I don't know, you've had like a situation like kind of where you were describing like that? Like for me, like I had an experience with Dewan one time. We were at the Foundry like way long ago, and this was like really like good for like my mentality and whatever. And he sat down. I'm like, oh snap! It's okay, cool. I'm about to lose, but it's about to be fun and shit like that. And he's just like, well, I mean, you're probably gonna lose if you have that attitude. Like, if you're already gonna tell yourself that you're gonna lose, then you're probably gonna lose. But if you like, obviously it's not like, say it's going to happen type of thing, but it's all about the mentality of just simply believing, like having that little tiny bit of faith in your own abilities of like playing. Because if you can like change that little tiny, you tweak it almost like turning a knob, like a little radio like tuning thing, all of a sudden you're like totally different player. I think that like kind of coincides with like the idea of like the last stock theory, I guess is what it's been called.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
When you like turn on the jets.
Yeah, essentially, because I've always been thinking about wanting to do like, I could see myself doing like a dissertation paper on like last stock theory of like, one person's like down at one stock, the other person's at like 3 stocks, and all of a sudden the person at 1 stock is like playing incredible, but the person at like 3 stock is suddenly playing like absolute garbage, and it's like, what happened? And the whole like, oh well, this person at 1 stock has already told themselves in their mind that the game is over. I can just do whatever I want. I don't have to worry about like whether or not I'm going to play well or whatever. I've already registered and moved on to the next game. Well, so is the other opponent, but they've done it in a different way. They've done it in the, oh, I've won. The match is over. There's no way that they're going to win. And therefore, you allow that possibility, that gateway, that mentality to open, that there is no way that you can lose. There is no longer a opening of loss for you in this situation. And then exactly that just starts happening. You start dropping, you start losing because you're not caring about whether or not like you're playing well or playing safe or anything like that. And all of a sudden your opponent starts like making the comeback, and then you're just like, oh shit, I'm about to lose. And then you lose, and then it's that lost stock mentality of just like, man, like this person just started like not paying attention to like, as you said, me as an opponent. They started paying attention to my character.
Well, okay, so a few things I think that you bring up are good, and the biggest one I'd like to touch on is the idea of like closing the possibility, right? And it just sort of makes me almost think of like the tortoise and the hare, classic old school story to like serve for a good analogy, because that's what happens, right? The hare, so overconfident in his ability, has already declared that he won. So he's like, well, I'm just going to take a nap, you know? Equivalent, it's like, I'm going to play a little crazy in Melee because I have the stock, so I'm going to be a little stylish.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the tortoise is like just sort of focusing on the race and what he can do to get there and just like finishing it. So the possibility in his mind is still open. And meanwhile, the hare, it's closed. So even if we just look at that fact on paper, the tortoise is like, still he's winning because he's like still playing. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Whereas if you've already checked out or you're overconfident, you're like, oh yeah, I got this, and you're lax, then that's when like you've already shut off the possibility. In the power, dude, the absolute power of like conscious thinking, just like
I know.
and just like believing in the possibility of something, it puts you leagues ahead of somebody who won't believe in it at all.
It's crazy. And like I can't tell you like how like weird it is, like how like I don't know, bizarre it is to be able to be like, yeah, I get it, like as far as like the mentality thing. Well, I there's a way that you can describe it. I can't quite say, but like when you just, as you were saying, when you just know that like you've got that mental edge, you're just there and you can feel it too. Like, have you ever had that? Like, cause like, you have that mental edge in someone's mind. Like, I guess for another anecdotal experience of something like that was, I was at Big House 7, right? No, 6. Excuse me, 6. And so I'm playing in bracket, and I have to play against this Ice Climbers player. And this Ice Climbers player is, he's doing whatever. He's like, he's all right. But we're playing, and I take a stock, right? And after that, he immediately, I see this out of my peripheral. He sits up in his chair. He scoots back just a wee bit, a few inches back in his chair, right? And then my friend who was like supporting me, who was standing next to him, was standing, I don't know, I guess the guy felt he was standing a little bit close. But either way, when he adjusted himself in his chair, he ever so gently and very, very politely, mind you, put his hand onto my friend's chest, very gently, and just gave him a tiny little inch nudge back. like backwards, and then my friend like kind of scooted backwards, and then he just looked at me, and he could see me like looking at him in my peripheral, and I just like start smiling, and I just know, oh, I'm in.
Okay, so that's actually really funny because part of the beauty of Melee is like reading small things like that, you know, like body language.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go back to your other question about like,
Yeah.
you know, sitting down against someone you know you're gonna lose against.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
That makes me think of is, in my case, I have two examples. One is I sat down next to Mewtwo King, and I knew I was gonna play him, so my mentality, it was like fresh out of pools. First match, I was like last seed, he was first seed, right?
Yeah.
And I go into this, what am I thinking? Am I gonna like beat him? Can I do this for my state? Is this my time to be like super anime mode? That's not what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking is, can I make this guy laugh? And I know that sounds so weird, but in my heart of hearts, dude, that's all I wanted to do. Because that would mean that we're both having fun. And why I brought that up is I want you to think about other different goals. Don't just think about, can I win and can I feel so good? Think, can I take 2 stocks off of this person? And once you get there, if that happens in the match, okay, can I take 2 more? Don't think automatically, can I win? Am I going to get to the next round? Is this matchup easy for me? Just think, okay, can I at least start with a couple of stocks?
Yeah.
And yeah, might. It's actually the inner game of tennis is. I've read a chunk of it. I didn't read all of it, but the one thing that I remember from it that you kind of brought up, dude, was letting your muscle memory take over, because your body knows how to do these things after you've done them a certain amount of time. And so instead of wasting the brain power on, oh, am I doing this right, or these are the cues that I'm looking for, and this is how I do it. You're questioning it, and that's just part of letting your body play the game and being so present within the game that you can rely on those like fast instincts to kick in when you need them to.
And you can kind of tell when a top player is experiencing that. By the way, yes, it is Swami night. How you doing? But you can kind of tell when those like feed that emotion, that type of mentality kind of kicks in for like say a higher level top player, because they start like all of a sudden they're no longer playing like, you know, the way that they normally would. And you could probably discern that from that they're putting more thought into their play, and maybe not like in a good way. Essentially, they're like thinking, why am I dropping this, or why am I failing this, rather than being like, let's just play the game as you said, and let's just focus on what we can do. Like, you know, setting those little micro goals for yourself and allowing yourself to like go from there. Because I kind of like when you were talking about that, like, you know, having those like micro goals. I feel like it's almost like this little cherry on top mentality where you're like, you know what, if I take a stock or something like that, I won't even care. I'll feel pretty good about that, and then if I happen to do anything else afterwards, it's just gonna be all the better.
Yeah, right. Instead of having like a negative mentality, it's like, man, I'm not even gonna be able to get 1 stock.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
Thinking, all right, let's at least get 1 stock. And that's the other story I wanted to bring up. First one was Mewtwo King. Second one, I got to sit down next to Armada.
Ooh.
And my goal, dude, I wanted to just make him bleed a little bit.
Okay.
I played against his Fox.
Yeah.
I took 1 stock off each game and was absolutely thrilled that I could even tussle, even just a smidge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hell yeah.
And so, and I don't like, oh, I took 1 stock off Armada.
No.
You know, that's
Yeah.
that was my little micro goal. That was like, okay, look, you at least you put a dent in him. You know, if it was like a crew battle, I would have gotten my dent in or something.
That's essentially like your little secretive, like, you know, in your brain you're like, hey, and you like put your fingers together, and then that's it, it's done. It's just like, cool, awesome.
Yeah, right. Well, and dude, that's the other thing, is it's like, are you winning like for yourself, or are you trying to win to like look cool in your community?
Yeah, exactly. You definitely want to make your purposes your own, for sure. And I feel like a lot of people like create purpose like for sometimes wrong reasons, which is why, like, you know, you'll run into a lot of players that get very, very tilted, like especially on net play, because as I said, this is where they started, this is how they began, you know, this is what they do. And so, you know, you're not simply just being like, you know, you're just beating some player, you're beating the guy that sits there, and this is how he how he feels good about himself. This is how he accesses serotonin or dopamine or whatever, and you're like threatening that kind of shit. So it's really nice to have those priorities in order when it comes to playing, rather than having to sit there and like question all these things that, you know, are trivial, I suppose. But yeah, so when we were talking about earlier about like kind of understanding those little micro situations of niche body language and whatnot, when you just kind of know you're in. Have you ever had something like that, like the story that I explained, like kind of where you can kind of just in your mind you're like, I'm in there, I'm living in this guy's head rent free, like I'm no worries.
Well, it's kind of one thing, and I did bring it up last time we talked, that it makes me think of is like, when I know that someone's tilted, it's like distracting to me.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Why is this guy so tilted right now? Like, it's distracting me.
That's honestly so interesting because, like, you know, I used to run into a few people, like, every once in a while that had that, like, that very same, like, little, I don't know, quirk, I guess is the right way to say about it, and it's just like... And it makes sense too. You'd think you'd run into it more often after you run into it once. You'd think, I'm surprised they don't run into this more often. But like, yeah, I feel like it's at that point it comes down to what is like driving people like to play. You know, because like if they're getting tilted or whatever, and you're right next to them and you're kind of getting like bothered by that, and they're like sitting there like possibly like, you know, wondering like, why is he getting tilted at me being tilted kind of stuff, and then you guys are creating your little own Yomi of like mind games of this situation that's not actually melee, it's actually just you two. So like, I don't know, that's very interesting, but I understand it because like, you know, when you mentioned about the micro goals and stuff like that, you also mentioned like the purpose of having fun, you know, and really like getting yourself into that zone of just enjoying yourself. And I think that's like what a lot of people have kind of forgotten, like almost how to do, is essentially like play the game for the reason of like enjoying themselves. Because that's like kind of what happened with me with like getting into Smashbox or box controllers in general. Like the game felt like a job. It didn't feel fun. It was just like I kind of didn't realize that I wasn't really playing the game anymore. I was like playing this angry game of like, you know, wall ball with myself, and I kept on like missing all the shots, like all the like the hits back into the wall, and I'd have to go and get the ball again, throw it back into the wall, and then every time I'd fail or something, I would just feel crappier about myself, and yeah, it just wasn't a good vibe. So, you know, if you have like that potentially bad mentality of like, this is what drives me to play, and it's just like, I want to do better for myself in tournament and stuff like that, without realizing, you know, like, hey, you know, this is, while I love this game, it's still just a game and whatnot. It's still like, yeah, it's my passion and whatnot, but like, if it's making me like feel this bad, if it's making me feel like this is actually a job and not something that I enjoy doing, then maybe like I need to take a step back.
Yeah, it makes me think of like people who, you brought up like, well, you know, why do you play the game? And of course we all want to win, but like, if you can only have fun if you win, I feel like that's the sour mentality, where you need to be able to have fun, win or lose, because then if you lose, you're gonna get more from it. Whereas if you only have fun when you win, well then you may only like benefit when you win a match or a set, and if you lose, you're just gonna like, oh, you're gonna excuse, you're gonna, you know, not focus on it. But if you still had fun, you could be like, well, man, well, that was good, but here's what I could have done better, and you can still have fun through that process instead of just being upset that you didn't win, because that's the only reason you were playing, is so you could win.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting when you can kind of tell what your opponent is like looking for, essentially, like when they're playing like, I don't know what it is, but like there's that like when you play somebody, right? I've always argued this in my psychology classes, or you know, in general at school, college, or whatever. Whenever I'd be doing like some essay or some experience that has to do with like gaming or whatever, and I'm using that as like a similar experience. And I always argue that like this game allows for like so many people to kind of play the way they want to. Like that's almost like their personality. Like you'll find people that like are like myself that kind of play a little bit defensive, but like aggro defensive, if that makes sense. So you could be like you could kind of make like little tiny like assertions about like what type of person they are. Like like someone that stays completely far away from you and doesn't want to approach you. We can make an inference that maybe they are a little bit shy in real life. They don't like to take a lot of risks. They're a little bit whatever, and that might be that, and that may be true, but it may not be. It's more likely, but it's still a chance that it could be wrong. It's not a guarantee, but I thought it was a good.
No, it's interesting you say that too, because someone who is like shy in real life could be an absolute monster in Melee.
Yeah, that's how they get out.
Allows them to open that part.
Yeah, exactly. So like there's always exceptions to the rule, but I found there's always exceptions to little niches things that you found. That there's no rule on that, but it definitely is one thing that I've noticed. Like,
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Because the other thing that I've noticed too is like some people, I really don't care for them as smashers, but as like just normal people, they're fine.
Yeah, no, I totally understand
that.
It's
like, don't talk to me about Smash because you're just annoying.
I mean, we all have those people. Like I know some of those people for myself, and
sometimes we are those people.
Yeah, sometimes you're just a little bit like too everywhere or something like that. I found myself like that, like where I'm just too like wild and like not positive, but like just kind of a little bit crazy at the moment because I'm just having too much fun or something. Like sitting there splurging like a little kid at like a candy store about like Melee and frames and stuff like that. And guy that I just met is just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he's like, dude, can you not?
Can you just like stop talking? But yeah, so then I guess what do you have some direction you'd like to take this? I have more directions, but I'd like to kind of give you like throw of the reins of this if you have something you'd like to touch on.
I'm just trying to think of some of the things. Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to touch on that. What just happened there? I have a problem with that, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, we can fight about it.
Yeah. Here we'll go back to Falco. I'm trying to think. Because I do appreciate these kinds of conversations, and sometimes
absolutely
people, they don't there's a meta to everything.
Yeah, there is absolutely. That's why
to like take a step out, especially with a game like Melee, where you're right, you're talking about how much control we have over the game. We kind of have to assess ourselves constantly.
Yeah,
and we create these bad habits, and that's why I've always related Melee to life, dude.
Yeah,
because it's all about like, how are you controlling your life and dealing what's like thrown at you?
And I think that there's this weird beauty of like how the game works with the mentality is that like while there's certain things that you can't control about this game, like we can use for an example like certain matchups, like we can say that Falco will discernibly probably beat Bowser pretty consistently at like top level, like if the Falco's not fucking up like or anything like that. We can just say that that's like on paper kind of fact but that's not to say that if, say, for instance, the Falco wasn't playing on 1000%, maybe 80%, right? And the Bowser was playing, like, out of his freaking mind, right? Then that Bowser might be able to, like, get some stuff because, he was execution testing you or whatever. So, like, that whole thought of, like, this is not possible, period, done. This is not even a conversation has now turned into, yeah, it's going to be difficult, but you could possibly do it if you just, like, stay diligent, you keep your mind at it, and you just stay focused, right? Very unlikely, but to say you shouldn't try it is definitely not the answer.
Well, and that's the weird thing too. Remember we were talking about like the one match, right? That could be the one match where you just absolutely pop off and the other dude wasn't playing well.
Yeah, exactly.
And how like that could be a huge thing.
Now, when you say, let's flip it over. So like let's kind of go over to like ego and like say salt, like those particular two like genres or whatever. What do you do for when you feel like your ego is in the way? Like what do you do? Like give me some examples that you found yourself you've found your ego kind of kicking in, like maybe even subconsciously, unintentionally. We'll start from there. Like, have you ever had a situation where you're just like, this seems not like something that I would normally feel? Like, you feel almost like overconfident or cocky or something like that. Has that ever happened? Some extreme emotion that you feel about it?
So one thing comes to mind in particular that I like felt bad about was when I was in college, and it was where we had like a weekly Smash Club. We did a crew battle.
Yeah.
It was like the underclassmen versus the upperclassmen.
Gotcha.
And I was like the best upperclassman, and I was up against, it was like it was literally like an even game, like 4 stock to 4 stock, like grand finals between us. And the guy that I was playing against was a bit of a jabroni, right? I'll just call him that.
Okay.
He's a Mars player, and not against him. I'm not trying to say that it's like I'm demonizing him or anything like that.
No, I get you.
He's just like not like a homie. He was just kind of like I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get you. I totally understand what you mean. Yeah.
And I was scared because it was his stage pick. So he was going to take me to FD, and he was a really good player. And he would chain grab you, and he'd kill you, and you'd be done. And like, he wouldn't even look like he had fun doing it, and it wasn't fun for anybody.
Yeah.
And so I was like thinking all the way leading up to this event, I was like, okay, well, maybe I can go Captain Falcon because then I can beat him. It's easier on FD. And I had the ego of like the best upperclassmen, so I was like, okay, this is like it. I whipped out the Falcon, and I got absolutely obliterated because I was overconfident, and I didn't even play a lot of Falcon at the time. I probably would have had a much better chance spamming lasers and playing Falco, the character that I know, but you allowed the way that I did.
You allowed at the time you allowed your ego to tell yourself that you didn't really need to go all that far, that you wouldn't need to put that much effort in, that you had it with Falcon. Like,
right, I had it with this guy because it's going to be easier and I'll be better than him or something. And dude, I felt so bad when he beat me. I was like, get me out of this venue. Like, I didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, no, I totally understand, and it's just like it feels mortifying, and you don't even want to like let people like look at you. You don't want to look at yourself. Oh, I've been there, bro.
And it's oddly like shameful.
Yeah, you know? Yeah, you feel like you don't belong there anymore. You're like, I've fucked up so bad, and it's like no one should ever feel that way. But it's not like anyone was making you feel that way. It's what your ego was telling you because like you put yourself on that pedestal and you fell. You fell hard.
You're bad because you did this wrong, you know?
Yeah, essentially.
And it's like, well, that's not, you can't just like, again, it's one match. You can't just say
you're
bad.
Exactly. But you know, it's a part of that ego, you know, where you allow yourself to let that little tiny voice in that, like, you know, that you probably don't like let yourself really listen to much anymore, that now that you're an adult and you're like, you don't beat yourself. I have that voice. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Like, I've had that voice where, you know, I used to really deal with like my own personal like ego of just like constantly telling me like, you know, you're not very good at this, or, you know, you fucked this up, like, good job, or something like that. And it's just like, you know, I got to a point where, you know, you just kind of talk to that side of yourself almost as if it's like a child. It's like, you know, or like an adult talking to a kid. It's like, you don't talk to yourself like that, man. Like, that's not how you treat yourself. Treat yourself with respect, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the thing, is it's like, again, you're telling yourself, okay, well, if I'm not like this, then I'm bad, you know? If I'm not like Mango or HBox or Zane, then I'm a bad player.
Yeah.
And that just there is such
that's
a,
all
that's
that
not
conditioning.
Good soil. Like,
all that
if you're a
conditioning.
flower, dude, you don't want to grow in that soil.
Yeah, exactly. You're just literally like putting that like your what's the word I'm looking for? Your reinforcing. There you go. You're doing unintentional positive reinforcement that is reinforcing negative mentality. So it's really just not great. But at the same time, you know, everyone goes through that point. You know, everyone has gotten in that point. I'm still there sometimes myself. We all have bad days. I can't tell you that I'll never have those moments of talking down to myself or something like that, but, you know, it's gotten so much better, and it doesn't really happen nearly as much, if at all, hardly anymore. But, you know, you're human, right?
Yeah. And that's why, again, this game is the journey, dude. This game is like the biggest journey I've ever been on.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I've gone to so many places and met so many people because of this game that I 99.9% know for a fact I would never have met or like gone to without like an actual purpose or a desire. Now, there's that little tiny percentile of a chance that says, you don't know that, you don't know the future, but like you're almost 100% sure that you would not have ever been in Michigan or like some of these places, Las Vegas or whatever, competing or whatever, and never in your wildest dreams. And then it's just like, oh, you're here kind of thing. So yeah, no, I feel you. Definitely agree. Journey.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, you asked about salt.
Yeah, let's go on to that.
Is I find, and this is again something that we touched on before, but for the sake of the conversation now, and I also wanted to say, if like anybody in either Twitch chat wants to like ask, questions, like,
yeah,
that's also cool
join in
because
with us. Yeah,
it's like Smash is sort of a personal experience sometimes. So
yeah,
if you have like a question, you're like, well, maybe this might just be unique to me. You might not feel so alone. But,
yeah, or an experience or something like that, and I'd be down to read it in my chat or vice versa. I'm sure Swami would, and we can kind of we'll interact with you guys as well. But yeah, continue.
So yeah, and it's kind of like sometimes I feel like I don't get salty enough, and what we talked about last time was like how sometimes in matches I like avoid negative emotions like the plague, and I think they sometimes have their place. And what I mean by that is like being like upset, like no, like I deserve this, I'm gonna work even harder to get it, instead of thinking, oh well, if this guy wants it more than me, he's gonna win.
Yeah, exactly.
So I get complacent. I get like anti-salty, where I just like give up almost.
And that's like the true testament
and that's to save my ego too, because it's like, oh well, he wanted it more. It's obviously like he was gonna win anyways.
And I think that's like the true testament of like the duality of like Melee, of like that yin and yang type of like mentality of just like even like you need a little bit of that bad stuff in there to like help balance it all out.
You do.
Obviously man. You don't like go around like talking shit to people or whatever like on a daily basis. These are the people that do that, but like if you're trying to like have that balance, that's not normally the course of action that you take. You push yourself in like as you said, those healthy ways of like, dang, I lost or something like that, but like I really want this and I deserve this and I can do better than that kind of thing, but not being like, man, I suck, like I don't deserve to be here type. Not like that. That gentle like that one meme, the guy that the salt guy of like the cook that sprinkles all the salt down on his steaks and shit like that. Just sprinkle that shit in, baby. Just sprinkle it in.
Yeah, no, there's like the good rage and the bad rage.
Yeah, gentle. Don't fucking just don't take the salt shaker and just pour all of it just in there. No, just gentle. Because it can power you up, Yeah.
That's kind of what you need. You need that extra boost of like emotion sometimes.
I've always actually really like, it's weird to think about like, yeah, baby, let's go. I've always like thought about like, two examples that I randomly saw that I remember recently in what was the tournament we just did, Gommel, and then also at Sandstorm years ago at M2K's tournament that he threw, Sandstorm, where HBox we got to see Angry Box, and that was like you can go back and watch the set Hungry Box versus Leffen at Sandstorm, where he just dissects the crap out of Leffen. And I remember they were talking about it on commentary that at the time we're gonna say his name. I apologize for anybody that might like tilt or anything with the recent events, but D1 had apparently said like something apparently that was a little bit inconsiderate towards HBox, and I guess he didn't realize that HBox was there or something. I don't remember exactly what the details were, but either way, it really upset him and it kind of pissed him off essentially. And so like that set, like everybody at the venue got to see Angry Box, and it was scary. I've never seen like Puff demolish Fox so painfully, like quickly. It was like,
well, dude, the same thing that happened at Beast with Westballs and Leffen, right? When Westballs had like this crazy combo at European tournament.
Yeah, and he's popped himself off. I feel you, and it's just like, but so like that Sandstorm for an example of that was like that little balance of like anger, but not letting it completely like override you essentially. But then there was the other example of recently at Gommel where so he HBox like played against somebody and he started off so strong. He started off like 2 stocks, melted, gone, like a minute at tops, and it was just like typical HBox when he's like trying to make his like run to like crap. And then after that, all of a sudden, I don't know if like what we talked about, he started like thinking about like stuff in the game that he normally doesn't put brain power into thinking about anymore, or what happened. But he just started playing like just pure butt, and all of a sudden he just like started like losing stocks, started losing momentum. The other players started gaining momentum, and it was all just that like. Wow, there was that little angry box again for like two, because he just recently had lost the winners finals to or winners semis or whatever to Spark to put himself into losers, and Sheik versus Puff. I'm sure he was on stream in front of thousands of people. I'm sure he was a little bit emotional as he gets like when he loses as is, and I can only imagine if there was any like hint of in his mind if there was any hint of it lagged at this point, which gave me like this problem of a situation, and he capitalized on it when normally this would never happen on CRT type crap. Like something could have been in there that like was plaguing his mentality. Either way, 2 stocks, angry box was there, he did amazing, then afterwards it just melted away, and like I can't help but wonder, maybe he let that balance slip one direction a little bit too far.
Well, the other thing that I'm thinking too, maybe, is like it's so different without the crowd, right? Because Hungrybox, he kind of like thrived on people cheering against him, probably.
Yeah, he's
so
always.
Now it's just like it's just himself. He's alone in his room with his own failures, and that's sometimes harder to like deal with.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I mean, like, he's still got people in chat to talk to, but it's not anything in comparison to obviously hearing the crowd boo you or something.
Right. No.
Just let me back on the stage. I just want to exist. Let me.
No. Thank you, Tristan, for the follow.
Hey, Tristan! I already know that's Tristan's rule. Let's go,
Wait,
Tristan.
do you recognize me now?
That's
Tristan.
That's dope. What's that?
Maybe
Tristan?
not. But I swear I saw you at a sandstorm.
But he
We played.
So I think so now that we've talked about like some of the examples of like salt and ego and stuff like that, what you said that you do some things like we'll bounce it back to ego. You said that you do some stuff to like kind of help yourself get through that like sense of ego if you ever have it, and I remember you mentioned like you kind of like give yourself that, I'm gonna take like a few stocks here and whatever, or what do you do? You just come into the now you just come into the set. I imagine more just humble naturally because you've been here long enough. You kind of know the mentality you want to take. But like if you remember, what would be like say a younger you going to a tournament? Like what would be the mentality that you would try to like take or something like that? Would you be like, I'm gonna go in there, I want to do the best that I can, and if I don't do very well, then that's okay? Or you gonna what was the play normally?
Okay, so yeah, the way that I sort of kept myself in check was just make it out of pools. At any tournament that was in between like a national and a local, I was always just like, dude, make it out of pools so you don't like drown with the rest of them. That was sort of my mentality, because like I had played enough to know that I'm like decent enough, so I at least wanted to place like out of pools. If I could make it into the bracket, I felt like I had achieved something.
You had proved something to yourself. You had met that little micro goal that you were talking about.
Yeah, and then the rest, and that's how I like validated spending the money on it, which was really nice. And it's weird too, like, I don't know, you sort of brought up earlier, like, when people are, like, gunning for you, like, you know that the guy, like, you've beaten him the past, like, 3 matches, maybe, and he's going after you now. Like, my example with that, dude, and it kind of goes into ego when what we're talking about, was at a tournament, Flatiron in Colorado, if I won the next match, I got a chance to play against Hack's Money. So, of course, I was like, oh, hey, what's up, U.S. government? We've been doing really well. And I was like, okay, sick. Like, I have to play this, like, super well. Well, come to find out, I was against a Game & Watch player. a match that is like equally as terrifying as it is simple.
Yeah.
As a Spixie's player.
Any one fuck up is just you're done, regardless of if you're a stock ahead or not.
So there's a lot. This is pretty loaded with like what we're talking about.
Yeah, perfect, exactly.
My sort of like negative mentality.
Okay.
So basically, I was already charged. I was at like a huge tournament.
Yeah.
1. I had the chance to face Hack's money if I won.
Yes.
2. I didn't want to look like an idiot in front of my friends by losing. This was to make it out of pools. So a lot was on the line.
So you've created like you've put yourself up for potential failure by like telling yourself like this, and then you've also like put peer pressure on yourself by like telling yourself that if I win I get to fight Hack's money after this and whatnot. So like obviously this is all you, but like understandable that. Like these are the things.
This is the way
happen.
I set this one match up in my mind.
One match.
This one match was like the entire tournament.
Yeah, exactly. Continue.
And so we start off, and I had beaten him like once or twice before. Like we didn't play a ton, but when we did, I generally took it, and so I was feeling pretty confident. We go to Yoshi's story.
Yeah.
And I'm just playing poorly. I'm charging in because I'm like, I'm just gonna overpower this guy. He's Game and Watch. This is gonna be no problem. And I'm just getting destroyed. He gets me off stage, obliterates me, and I'm playing Falco.
Oh, okay.
So I lose, and I'm thinking, like, it was just a fluke. Like, what? I'm gonna switch to Fox, which is even faster. So instead of slowing down and like thinking about what went wrong, what could I have done better, I switched to Fox to try and do what wasn't working even faster.
Yeah,
I go back to Yoshi's story, and the same exact thing happens, and I get obliterated, 2-0'd. I got cool jammed. It didn't feel good, bro.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to fight Hack's money. I was out of the tournament.
Oh.
And it's just it felt all sorts of bad.
Yeah, I hear you, and it's hard to like sit there and like because normally what I do when I feel myself getting that adrenaline rush, I'll sit there. And I'll just, even if it means that I have to like semi-ice out my opponent for like a hot sec, I will sit there and just like breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth, goose frog look, and like countdown from 10, 10, 9, 8, eat all that stuff. I will.
Well, dude, okay, and that's the other thing. It's like Melee is so quick. Like, some people don't breathe like for an entire match, I feel like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're very right, but it's just about like saying for instance like what I would do, but like it's hard to get other people to do that to like one example is like of how like I try to always like tell people like how good and how powerful like breaks are, and like when you take a break and you say you take even if it's like only like a small amount of time, like 3 days or something like that max, or like even 2 days, or shit even a day, like of just no melee. Even if you're thinking about it, just don't touch it. And you come back, melee, not only it feels so good, you're like, oh, I fucking missed it. And you're just like, not only that, you're like, you've kind of broken those, you've slightly damaged and or broken or completely like what's the word? You've erased your bad habits essentially, or and essentially that makes room for other bad habits, right? That those habits that you're using that you were bashing your head against the wall, like why do I keep doing this and blah blah blah. Those are like either less, they're hardly there anymore, or they're just completely gone, and that makes room for new bad habits to develop. While that seems like silly, but it's like you wanna essentially think of it like a cache, right? Like of like your browsing history or something like that, and you looked at the bad shit. Get rid of it. That's essentially what you want to do. You want to get rid of the bad stuff, and then you want to make room for more stuff to be in there, so you can absorb that. And that's a really, 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 really powerful thing to like allow yourself the refresh of melee. Because when you come back, oh man, I can confirm, at least for myself, everybody's different. Not everyone works this way, but when I come back from like even 2 or 3 days break, I feel like just reborn again. I'm not even kidding you. It's so good. Melee feels great. Like, doesn't matter what happens. There's no taking you down. It's like the day I got a check for $420.69. I don't care what you did to me that day. You're not ruining my day. Buddha spoke to me. It's over.
Well, and I'm glad you call it sort of like a cache, that like is queued up in your head or something, and you do have to empty it. And just because Melee is such a tunnel focus kind of game.
Yeah, you sit there and you go back into your little basement, like in your mind or something like that, and you do your shadow boxing and stuff like that with whoever you're fighting against, whoever's plaguing your mind, like in tournament or in net play or whatever. You fight them in your mind, and then you come back to it and you work on it, and it either works or it doesn't. And you know, when you're able to empty that cache out, as we were talking about, and start focusing on new things, you allow yourself to progress, and rather than standing still.
Well, the other thing it makes me think of too, just the idea of a cache is like, and this is again like another life topic. It's like, what do you carry around with you? Like, how many past tournaments are you carrying in your subconscious that you're judging yourself on?
I know I know multiple people, but I know one person that carries every single tournament with them. Every single one. Every single one.
There's like some merit to that, you know, like remember them, learn from them. But like, if you like just like beating yourself up because you're carrying the past like 10 tournaments you went to where you just sucked, you're like, well, dude, let those go. Like, otherwise you won't have room to like hold on to the good ones.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think is something that like you could try to tell somebody that was having that like issue? What would you tell them to try to do in order to help them with that? Because it's all good to say that and whatnot, but what would you think is like a good way of keeping yourself in check on that, like emptying that cache out? Is it just breaks? Is it, how do you do that? How do you do that? Ooh, that was sick. That was gross. Beautiful.
You know, that's a good question, because it's just part of like and again, this is like my solution is also kind of my downfall, because I'm complacent about it. I don't care about last tournament, but I kind of should, because I need to do better than that, right? And that's how I should care about it, by trying to improve. I shouldn't care about it by thinking about how poor I did. I should think about it and carry it with me. How do I improve from last tournament?
Yeah.
I lost last tournament. Don't just stop the thought process there. Otherwise, it's dead weight. Whereas if you can recycle that garbage tournament into like, I'm holding on to it, but how can I improve from it? And that's why I had one friend who carried like a Melee book with him, and he would write down like, okay, this like in this set, I should have gone for this setup more, or at this percent, this happens. And that's sort of how he carried those tournaments with him, in a way that would recycle the losses, right, into more knowledgeable fuel for something to come in the future.
And I have somebody that does that exact same thing, but they tell me that they have an issue with that, because sometimes they can't understand their own like thought processes. Like, they'll write it down, and essentially it looks all good. Like, if you showed it to anybody else, it's very clean, concise, but there's just so much information that it's kind of overwhelming, and it makes the person not want to like actually look at those notes. So like, would there be merit, you'd say, like, say instead of, for some people they do like frame data, or like I did this at this percent, would you say for some people they might be better at like saying, what emotion are you feeling in this moment? Like, when you feel like something that disturbs you or something like that, you're like, at this moment, like right now, I just played against a Captain Falcon player after the set's over, or whatever the session, and that at one point they kind of, you know, I felt myself getting tilted, and I, you know, tried to get myself to come back to a place of complacency, but I couldn't quite do it. Like, do you think having that as a journal would probably be better for some of those people, or?
Yeah, well, dude, I think absolutely, because a big part of like, again, kind of what we're talking about with the balance of emotion, you want to be emotionally invested enough to like be latched onto the game, but you don't want to be too emotionally invested to where like you feel like less of a person or more than somebody else just because like you won, right? And
yeah.
So the one thing that I can think of is, yeah, I absolutely think if you're not into frame data, kind of check your emotions, because like I just play how I feel, and I know that sounds a little weird.
No, it's, you're a gutsy player. You play on instinct. That's totally understandable.
Right, and so to be able to like call those out and look at bad habits, I think is really good, even from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, when I got like forward stocked, or every time we played on Fountain of Dreams, I just felt bad because I was losing.
Yeah.
Or anything like that, and it makes me think of too. The best piece of advice I've been hearing about, it's like basically about breaking bad habits, or like seeing things rise up and sort of nipping them in the bud, which is basically like, you can't expect to solve it at like the very immediately. And so, but what you can do is start calling it out. And let's say you're getting salty. Before you get salty, maybe you take like a second, be like, that was really infuriating. I'm gonna take a second to realize that I probably shouldn't be salty. And then you can be salty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, at least open up the possibility of a pause before immediately doing something about like complaining or excusing. Recognize the reality of it. Recognize that you're gonna be salty about it, and express those emotions instead of like just trying to ignore them. Oh, I'll never be salty again. It's like, well, that's a lie. You're probably gonna be salty, but call yourself out before you do it. So that next time it happens, you will be prepared just to like call it out and be fine with it.
Yeah, I kind of like that because there's a lot of times where like we talk about all the stuff that you can do about mentality and all this other stuff and whatnot, but like we don't. I feel like a lot of people don't always like talk about how like you don't always have to like with how you're saying like you can still be upset, but just call yourself out on it. Like I feel like there's not enough like talk about how. Like, because everyone wants to just say that, like, no, you do this or this, and these things will help you achieve this goal, rather than being like, yeah, you're probably going to be salty, and that's not really anything you can really get past at this current moment, but at least, like, help you in the future by calling yourself out and creating this filter of getting used to it, like, desensitizing yourself to it, essentially.
Yeah, or try and shorten the length of time where you are salty. Because I'll tell you, dude, I will be the saltiest person on the earth for about like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I just let it flow through my body instead of holding it in there.
Just let it happen.
Yeah, right. Let it flow through. Recognize it. And
like
go write it down. Like, were you salty because it was losers finals game 5 last stock? Were you salty because you heard someone in the background? Like, sort of call those things out.
Yeah, or
just give them a little bit of reflection. You don't even have to dwell on them.
Or just that constant like barrier of like, oh, I got knocked out again right before I hit top 8. Typical.
Yeah.
One of those things.
Like Eeyore, dude. That sounds like Eeyore from
Yeah, that's exactly how it is for some people. That's exactly how it feels too. You're like, yeah, here we go again. It's exactly how it feels sometimes.
Dude, there's a book called The Tao of Pooh. Have you ever heard of it?
I've never heard of it, but I can already tell you that like I kind of get where it's going.
Dude, yeah, and basically it gets all the Winnie the Pooh characters and sort of categorizes them, and it talks about why Pooh is sort of the character to model yourself after. And how it's the same thing with Melee. I can tell you right now. Let me walk you through the characters.
Go ahead.
Tigger is overly confident in his play, right? He's just gonna go balls to the walls. He's gonna be kind of reckless, but he's gonna be confident.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So he's a good play style, But then you have like Rabbit. Rabbit is very like cocky and confident, like, oh, I'm the best. I have these setups. I will be able to beat you because like I'm better on paper, basically.
Sounds like a neutral color fox.
Yeah. And then you have Piglet. Piglet's like, I'm too scared. I'll never be good enough, right? I'm very shy. I'm not very confident in my play. Maybe I can do something good, but it wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to do it. Compared to like a Tigger or a Rabbit, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, calculated, sucker,
Wow, insulted. You love it, Tack. You know that it's true. It's those neutral color fox.
Piglet's too scared. And then you have Pooh.
Oh, yeah.
And Pooh is just playing the game. Pooh doesn't even know that he is won or lost, really.
Yeah.
Because he is just sort of in the moment.
Yeah.
And there's a beauty to being that kind of like ignorance,
Yeah, dude. I don't know if I talked. I know we talked last time. I don't know if I remember if I told you about one quote that I've really been vibing with. I totally agree, but still insulted. You're right, dude. It's very true though. The neutral color foxes, they're the ones that are just like they're always confident, like almost to the point of like a fault. But the quote that I was thinking of recently is from Kung Fu Panda. I don't remember if I remember telling you about it. It's from Master Oogway, and he is the giant tortoise, and it's about like I have it in my chat as exclamation anxiety, and it's basically just like yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. Today is the present. That's why they call it a gift. So it's just like, when you're living in that moment, like, of now, you can just do so much better than, like, sitting there worrying about, like, stuff that you have no idea about. You can't change yesterday. Tomorrow's not here yet, so focus on today, like, now.
Well, dude, and it's the same, like, the people who get, like, all bent out of shape, they're like, and I used to be this way. I'd be like, yo, can I see the bracket? Who am I playing? What's going on? Like, what's the bracket look like if I beat this guy? If I beat that guy, what's the bracket like? It's like, dude, whoa, my man, hold on.
Yeah. You know what I actually did to combat that? Like, I actually just straight up don't look at bracket anymore. I just get called, I get called up and I play on reaction. And like there's merit to like sitting down and seeing who you're playing and having like a little game plan studying videos. There's absolutely
warm up the character, dude.
Absolutely. At the top level, that's probably what you want to do. But for me to deal with like some of those nerves of like performance, peer pressure, which I think honestly is actually a great switch of our next topic that we could talk about is peer pressure, or performance rather, is when I know who I'm going to play against, especially if it's a better player that I've played against. Like, say for instance, a great example, I found myself running into this a lot. The person that basically I feel like I took their style and kind of expanded on it the most, DP. He's if you've seen him on GR Smash, he's the guy that would always get salty against Nintendo, and he was on Xanadu a lot. That's my boy. That's Mike. I love him. He terrorized our scene for a good minute with his Falco. Like, just holy crap, blatant, just could come to the scene, like a tournament, like 20 minutes late, hardly gotten any sleep, be not warmed up at all, just destroyed the entire venue. And so you got to a point where if you, like, I'd run into him in bracket or something like that if I was doing well. So if I, like, knew and I was a lot, like, in bracket, I wanted to know who I was playing against. I wanted to get myself ready. I wanted to take that mentality of prepare yourself, familiarize yourself with the player base so you can start familiarizing yourself with who you're up against. But then you fall into these lines, these barriers of, like, thought processes of, like, okay, now that you've told yourself that when you're familiarizing yourself with a player base, you run into DP. Now, every time I run into him in bracket, and before I actually am playing him in bracket, like someone's just like, yeah, you're going to play DP next or something like that. All of a sudden, I've got the Jaywong jitters. I'm just sitting there like, fuck. I got to play this top level player, and I already know how it's going to go because I've played him before, rather than just being like in the moment, reacting to how it goes. I'm like trying to like literally combat like turning nerves at that point. But a top level player that has been there a lot longer and understands how to get past that, they're going to still go for that game plan of knowing who they're playing against and familiarizing themselves. So the original mentality that I took, I feel like wasn't bad, but for an inexperienced player like myself at the time, obviously that's what's going to happen. You get yourself a little bit riled up, essentially. You get yourself a little spooked. You spook yourself.
Well, and this is another thing that like relates to life in general, is my experience with expectations.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into like peer pressure, right? Because you're expected to perform a certain way, or you put those expectations on yourself.
Yeah, like okay. So let's rock that to like how we've been giving anecdotal experiences and examples and whatnot. And again, feel free for anybody in Swami's chat or my chat to throw out some examples of experiences you've had with this. We'd love to hear some from you. What's like an example, I guess you could say, or multiple if you have any, of like times that you've like literally been put under like performance, like expectation, like pressure, you felt it and you didn't like it, essentially, like you wish, like you remember that like time where like you're telling me you lost and you were like, I just didn't even want to be there anymore. I just wanted to leave. Like, did you ever have any of those, like with like performance pressure and all that stuff?
I'm trying to think.
Because I definitely have the story if you don't.
It's interesting for me because Melee is like the first thing I've ever competed in.
Yeah.
And so I can see where someone might have like more experiences like that if they competed in other things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to think. Here, you tell your story. Maybe
Got you.
I might-
Got you. Yeah, absolutely. I've got a perfect example of how to set that up. I always think I can beat who I'm playing. Yeah, dude, I feel that, Ian. Honestly, it's a really good mentality to have. To just be like, you know, just it's like a mantra. Just tell yourself, I can do this. I got this, man. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, and it's a really healthy mentality. Even when somehow deep down inside in that little tiny little pocket of conscious that you allow yourself to let that doubt in, where you're like, I'm probably still gonna lose, but you still tell yourself anyway, no, I'm gonna win. I got this. Like, that's really good. I definitely think that's a good mentality to have. But for my example, I remember one time I was at Cafe Colonial. It's a local in Sacramento that we used to go to. It's no longer like the venue that we go to currently right now, before COVID hit. But anyway, I just had gotten ranked at that point. I was still on GameCube controller, and I remember I was playing against one of my other buddies who wasn't ranked at the time. He's a Luigi player. Good guy. Love him. He's a great player. Honestly, like no hate whatsoever. And I remember I was playing against him in friendlies, and we had a bunch of our, like, you know, friends that were, like, behind us and stuff watching, like, you know, us play. And it wasn't even, like, a serious set or anything. We were just doing friendlies, and there just happened to be people coming through, and they were just all, like, watching because, you know, why not? And I remember I lost, and the first thing I hear in the background is just like, man, you lost? Aren't you supposed to be ranked or something? And I'm just like, man, don't even start, man. Like, that's the first thing that my head told myself. Like, that's literally the gut, like, instinct reaction that happened right after. I'm just like, I just didn't even want to play anymore. I was like, I just want to go. I'm already not about it. Like, I was like, that's how easy it was to snap me. Because I was just like, I just hated the idea of, like, letting somebody down. Hated it. Fuck. And so, yeah, that's an example of, like, a time where I've let it really get me down. But thankfully I don't really much anymore. I still prefer to not be ranked if I can ever help it. But, like even if I'm ranked, I prefer sometimes not to be on the ranking system. But, you know, sometimes it's kind of unavoidable. But regardless, that's one example that I had at one point.
Well, dude, no, it makes me think because, like, I remember playing when I was in college. Like, again, I was like top like 3, top 4, you know, of the college. of a pretty decently sized little local scene in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
I was ranked pretty high. Like, when you thought of, like, good players, it was like people, you know, you thought of Swami was one of the names.
Yeah.
It was like when people, they'd be like, oh shit, you play Swami? And I'd be like that puts pressure on me to, like, be that kind of, like, oh man, like, because and that's just the classic competitors, like, paradigm is you have everything to lose and they have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
They only have things to gain, right? Where you're defending your title, your namesake, when they're just trying to, like, take it from you.
Yeah, they're just doing whatever.
Safer.
It's so much easier, and it's so much easier as a player who's trying to knock someone down and be expected to be, like, knocked down, essentially. Like, so, like, the person that's expected to be knocked down is, like, it's easier for them to perform because everyone's just assuming you're going to lose anyway. And then the person that's expected to win, obviously, that's your expectation performance. Like, you know, they're expected to probably win regardless of if it's a 2-1 or not. They're probably still expected to win. and it's like,
Yeah.
it's that
It's a
little
lot of weird pressure.
it's a little moment in time where it's just like when you lose that to that one person and you allow that, and that kind of coincides with that, you know, when we were talking about earlier, once that player's been trying to beat you for a while finally gets that W and it's in tournament and you're that ranked player or something like that, and you gotta hold all those emotions, all that jambalaya of emotions of just like, man, I gotta be happy for my boy here because he's my boy and he won against me and he's been working hard and he deserves it. But man, I just let this guy, like, beat me and I'm a ranked person, so now I've got this performance, like, expectation of just like, darn, I was expected to win. That kind of feels bad, but at the same time, like, I shouldn't feel bad because, you know, it's just literally this giant pot of just nothing but swirling emotions of, like, how am I supposed to react? And sometimes the best thing to do is just remove yourself the entire environment for a hot sec to just breathe.
Well, like you said, even like take a break from the game.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you're like associating yourself way too much with just like a game.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's
or the outcome of a game.
Yeah, exactly. No, I feel you. That's not like, you know, how I react much anymore, but that used to be me for sure.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of newcomers like coming to Melee, right? And
Yeah.
Melee, it's so easy to have like a zug mentality, and that's why I appreciate the game, because it's forced me to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know
I totally understand that.
And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it was rough for me when people were telling me I was going to win the NorCal Arcadian when I had only been going to tournaments for a couple of months. Oh, absolutely, Ian. Yeah, I actually really remember that. You did have a lot of, like, expectation put on you. Like, whenever someone, like, mentioned your name. When still,
dude,
like...
Arcadians are so, like, rough, man.
Yeah, like, especially, like, for my boy, in chat, his tag is Whoopty-Wop, but, like, I remember for a while, like, whenever someone, like, mentioned Ian's, like, tag, or just Ian in general, or something like that, they'd be like, oh, yeah, Whoopty-Wop the God, or something like that. It's like, yeah, that's dope. Like, that's amazing that, you know, you've gotten that, like, that privilege to kind of just be like, you know, oh, I'm this person now, but, like, at the same time, man, I have all this sudden, I have all this expectation. I'm now apparently, you know, amazing to some of these people, and you're like, fuck. What's an Arcadian? An Arcadian is just basically like mainly for like all the unranked players that are there in the your scene. Like, so for instance, the Sacramento Arcadian would be for like all the people who are unranked in Sacramento to be able to go for. And you know, if you've been ranked in like is it the NorCal or SoCal or whatever PGR you're like, if you're NorCal or SoCal, if you've been ranked on that, you're not allowed to enter. And if you have been, or I think it's if you've been ranked in your local PR, then you're not allowed to enter, and then if you haven't, then you can. No ranked players in a region can enter. Yeah, TLDR. Yeah, there we go. And I had little experience and a lot of expectation pressure. Yeah, you really did, Ian. You really did. But you've powered through and you've grown through it.
Well, dude, and that's another thing that it makes me think of is, like, for example, if someone takes like one game off of a PR player and then they're going into the Arcadian, it's like, oh, this guy he took someone off the P, like he beat a PR player, he's gonna win the Arcadian. And it's like, whoa, dude, that could have just been that one game. Like, that doesn't necessarily make me an automatically better player.
And you'd be surprised at how many people will literally sit there and count games in their head subconsciously, like, all right, I just won one, I just lost one. And so, like, now that they have this information on hand to be able to just be like, yeah, how do you normally do against so and so? Oh yeah, I've got, like, I'm up against him like three games in sets, and you're like, how you just have that information so quickly on hand? What?
Well, and especially if you have a rival, it can be like that.
Yeah. Like, I beat DP a few times, but I'd only played a single Puff Peach Samus in tournament. Yeah. Especially with, like, the people that, like, are really already established good players in the area. You definitely had a lot of expectations to perform well against Mike, Ian. Yeah, I definitely remember that. I definitely also remember feeling, man, I'm so glad that's not me. I, like, as much as I, like, it was like I wanted to be better, I was like, man, I'm so glad that is not me sitting there, like, having everyone talk about me like that. Like, oh god.
Well, dude, and I think this is probably a lot of what we've talked about is probably why PPMD, like, left the scene and had so many, like, mental health issues, you know?
Yeah, dude, like, it gets scary.
It's a lot of pressure, and it puts you in the spot, and it's even Ken was like, bro, when everyone wanted me to lose, like, that's stressful.
Yeah, dude, it's like you almost want to just throw it just to get it over with. You're like, dude, just stop,
man.
Please. Like, that's like, you know what, honestly, I know this is a little bit, like, kind of, like, this is very off point, but, like, I wanted to, like, randomly touch about, like, that and, like, something that, like, I've been thinking about recently. You know about the whole Kanye West, you know, running for president and all that stuff, and some of the things he's been saying, right? Like, just the whole, like, you know, the Harriet Tubman didn't free the slaves so they could be free. You know, she freed them so they could go work for other white people, type shit. And it's like bringing it back to the mental health thing. It's just like, can you imagine what it's like to be Kanye, like, in general? Like, you wake up and you, like, go onto your social media, and there's never a point probably where his social media doesn't have at least, like, a few thousand notifications or something like that, messages of people laughing at him, like, calling him names or something like that, like, messages of people probably maybe even sending him death threats or all these other things, and it's, like, all this, like, and this is, like, you can't escape it. Like, you know, you literally, you either throw away your phone, deactivate your profile or something like that, or you just make yourself numb to it. And it's like, there's all these jokes and everyone's laughing and stuff like that, but, like, that is a shining example of what happens to, like, someone when mental health gets unchecked and goes so low like that. And it's just, like, I can, like, when you mention, like, this is, like, what, like, you know, kind of probably made PPMD leave the scene, this mental health, and it's just, like, seeing it now, like, in someone like that, and it's, like, when he said that line about the Harriet Tubman, and then his, like, the crowd was so silent, and they're, like, you hear whispers of, like, what, and you just see the expression on his face. He didn't understand what he said. He didn't understand the gravity of what he had just said. It didn't register. And it's just like, man.
Dude, a lot of people have talked about how he's, like, suffering, like, mental episodes, like, psychotic breaks.
Yeah, dude, like, can you, like, he's, like, he
and
lost
how
his
he's
mom.
actually, like, a
and...
very, like, troubled person.
Yeah, dude, and this is funny, too, because there are the times where, like, you know, I remember there was this one little conversation. He was on this talk show or something like that, and he was talking to this one guy, and I don't know what it was, dude. This Kanye, the Kanye that I was listening to at the moment, that was a different man. Like, not even just like, man, that was like a different human being. What happened? Like, this was a 180 human being. His mentality. He's like talking about, you know, I try to do this stuff for all of y'all. This is the stuff that I wake up in the morning. You know, I bring you guys content, music, all this stuff. I put that out there as a little bit of, like, you know, espresso, a little coffee for your morning, like, vibe, so you can make it through the day. That's what I'm about. And, you know, talking all this good stuff. And it's just like, this is the mentality I'm trying to reach. This is the stuff that I'm looking for. This is the genius mentality. And seeing him now, it's like, it's unrecognizable, and it's crazy how, like, I don't know, dude. I know it's completely off basis for our, like, topic, but I just, like, not completely for mental health, but, like, just, my God, it just shakes me to the core.
You have to, I mean, that's, like, he's one of the most famous people on the face of the earth. Like, that's no doubt.
Yeah.
And at least, I don't know, I would argue so, right? Between the Kardashians and Kanye West. Like, and so that does something to you, man.
Yeah, like, so, like, that's what I think about, like, when you mentioned Ken, too, and you're like, when the crowd wanted you to, like, you know, you remember Jason, like, Mewtwo King, when, like, old Jason, when the crowd was against him, it was over. When the crowd started cheering against him, Jason was tapped out. He was done. It was over. He would, like, you can already see the head shakes coming out. He starts dropping stuff. He starts listening to the crowd. You can literally almost visually see how he's starting to listen more to the crowd, even though that's, like, really odd to, like, try to describe, but you can just tell he's hearing them more and more as he starts to, like, drop stuff, and you can tell he's done, and that's how bad it can get for some people, for that performance expectation, and it's just crazy. It's like how powerful it is when you let, like, all this stuff really get to you.
Well, and it's interesting, you have players who, like, thrive on that, like Axe, right?
Yeah, he's empowered. He's empowered by the doubt. Like, he loves it. He loves it. Like, I love when people, like, call him out on something, and he's like, that's right, doubt me. Go ahead. I'll just prove you wrong like I have always before. And I'm just like, oh no, dude, he's a monster. You only fuel him. He can't be stopped.
It's absolutely real.
I love it. No, I'm genuinely, I'm not jealous, but I'm definitely envious of that mentality. It's just like, doubt me, please. Allow me to prove you wrong.
And it's good to, don't even let me prove you, if not now, let me prove you wrong, like, in the future.
Yeah, if you're gonna be the reason I have a new goal, please give me a new set of purpose.
And a big part about it is, like, I think what a big thing that it comes down to is what's known as a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Fixed mindset is, oh, I suck, I'm gonna lose. Growth mindset is, even if I lose, I still learn. And that's like, at the end of the day, that's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah. No, I totally understand, and I vibe with that. Yeah. But yeah, it's hard. There was a set where Axe was tearing up because he was about to lose and he leveled up like Gohan or some shit. Yeah, Axe is definitely a very in the moment emotional player. That guy lives for the present. Is definitely a free flow player right there.
And dude, he does it with such like a crazy character too.
Yeah, he does. He really does. Out of all the characters you'd think that would happen with, Pikachu is not one of them. But yeah, so I think, what do you think is like, I don't know, like trying to think of how I wanna send this now. What do you think is like good mentality that you try to take? You said that you try to like make it fun for yourself. Like, is there like a little method to that madness? Like, do you just like find like, for me, like, because I kind of agree. I do the same thing. I find myself like doing options. My entire style / play is even like functioned around like having fun, essentially. Like, where sometimes my options are that I choose, someone will be like, why'd you choose that option there? Even though it's like not very good, and it's like, yeah, it was a suboptimal option, but I did it because it was more entertaining, it was more fun, or it put me in a position where like I'd have to like I'd have to, I don't know, just like get put in a 50-50, essentially. I'm making more neutral be put upon myself, like I want to like challenge myself.
Yeah, especially like when I was fighting Mewtwo King, I wanted to do it. It was more of a challenge for his like personality than it was like anything to do with melee necessarily.
Yeah, you were setting that for yourself.
Yeah, but in terms of, I do love to play the game and have fun with it, so I tend to go for like some crazier options that I can.
Yeah, more Mad Lad stuff.
And I respect that. It's like, okay, if I lose, the other person was playing better. I took some risks. I didn't have to take them. And then that kind of goes into like the complacency thing. It's like, oh, I'm just complacent, so I'm just gonna like do something crazy. But that's something too I've told myself is I need to learn how to like reel it in a little bit.
Yeah, no.
How do I like dial in at that last stock? Like something that I've wanted to learn and get better at was playing more reserved with the less lives I have. Instead of treating like my last stock like it's my first stock, you know what
Treat
I'm saying?
every stock like it's your last stock. That's so hard to do.
Dude, it's so hard.
I've been trying to do that for years, like literally like treat every stock like it's your last stock, because I've had one of my friends tell me, is like, man, you are an absolute like unkillable monster sometimes on last stock. Like, I don't understand what happens. Like, I can't kill you anymore. And I'm just like, I don't know. I've been trying to get to have all my stocks like that, but I just sometimes I can't. It's rough, but
Well, dude, and it makes me think too. There's so much. Like, one thing that I hate about melee players is their focus on like, this is not fun for me. Like, I want you to just run at me. Why? They're like, you camping is not fun for me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's a personal problem. That has nothing to do with me. Like,
yeah.
I don't care. I'm having fun. If this is how I want to play and have fun,
it's just
what I'm gonna do.
I think it comes down to a line at that point between players that seem to have a differential, like fundamental difference of understanding of how melee is meant to be played in their mind. Like, you know, some people kind of take it as the respect and disrespect camaraderie of just like, you know, like we're two human beings playing this game at the same time, right? So naturally we should be trying to like essentially be courteous to each other, type of stuff, and kind of follow this gentleman agreement of like, it's like that old school Falcon mentality of like, I'm gonna just try to knee you for the kill rather than just try to get the kill. And it's like, that's fine and good and everything, but that's not, again, I agree with you, that's not like, that's, you play the game how you want to, but there are the other people that, like I said, have a fundamental difference of understanding. They simply want to like play the game as they feel like the barriers should allow you to play it rather than free flow. And you know that's fine. Everyone's entitled to have their own feeling, but like to impose it on others is another thing. But I'll definitely have that happen a lot where people get mad because they're like, you're playing a certain way that I don't like, and
dude, or they're like, dude, come on, this is friendlies. It's like, okay, well, like, I'm sorry if you don't like it. I'm trying to play as if this were a tournament set. Like, I'm sorry, you know, that's not. I'm just trying to play the game how I currently want to play it.
Yeah, exactly.
For you to be like upset at me with that, well, I'm sorry. Like, find a new opponent.
Yeah, and you know
and not to give into that sort of, you talked about, you know, peer pressure of like, okay, well, I guess I have to be stupid because this person wants me to be, and I don't want to look like an uncool Melee player, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, saying like, hey, you know, you know, that's there's nothing wrong at all with being like, hey, you know what, fine, you wanna play that way, that's cool. I don't wanna play that way, or I don't wanna play you, so I will actually go find another opponent. And then that's just that.
I respect your grind, it's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
take care, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Some just mutual understanding of, you know what, yeah, this is the time where we could say, you know what, you want to do this more, that's cool, I respect it, do that more, I'm gonna go do that somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. Let me go find someone to just bash my skull into over.
Yeah,
and
and there's, it's just, but like, so like, say you find yourself in that situation where someone's telling you you're playing lame, you're playing this way, I don't like the way you're playing, or something like that, right? Maybe they're not even like, maybe they're not saying it, right? But that person is experiencing the tilt of they're not enjoying playing against you, right? And so instead, and they allow themselves to get tilted, and even when they walk away from like the set, they're now stuck in tilt mode, right? You're just now, you're there. What do you have you ever had that for yourself? Have you ever like had like where you're like, you've gotten yourself tilted and you've just been stuck there for just a discernible amount of time?
I think the problem is like when you carry that from like winner's bracket to loser's bracket, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's the time where you have to like
like
carry it, but like let it go.
You're like mad at yourself for execution, like failing like a lot of these things. You're mad at yourself for like dropping like what you're doing, like silly things, and allowing yourself to get hit by things you normally don't like get hit by in friendlies or whatever, and like stuff like that. Like again, all not great mentality of things to get mad at, but you know, people are people, they're still gonna get mad at things. So like, you know, for someone that gets stuck in that tilt mode, like, do you have like any tips for what they would try to like do to break free of that? Like obviously there's let it go, but you know, I know some people that just can't let that go.
Dude, and it's tough, man, and that's like a personality thing sometimes.
Yeah,
too.
It really is.
Right, because those same people might be the same people who, like, if someone in traffic honks at them, they think about it the entire drive home and then some. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they hold on to it for sure.
Yeah, and that comes down to like, that's a personality trait, and I guess my answer, if you're trying to break like maybe that in like a melee tournament. You know, bro, like go to the bathroom, splash some water on your face.
Take a step back.
I love going outside of the venue, dude. Like,
yeah.
No matter where you are in bracket, go step outside. Like,
yeah.
Take a look at the sky, deep breath. You know, stretch out a little bit because people, like we're saying, it's tunnel vision. Yeah. They're just like go, next match, go. I no breaks. Like we're just going. It's like, dude, you gotta like. You can't just give all your juice at once.
Yeah, no.
I said about taking a breather.
I have somebody that struggles with that, so that was me like more so asking for a friend. I kind of understand what I need to do about it personally for myself, but yeah, that was more so just asking for a friend because they definitely struggle with that. Even in friendlies, you know, they'll play against a play style that they find like semi annoying or something that tilts them, whatever be it, and while they can still be like, okay, you know what? I am done playing this, and I don't have to subject myself to this because this isn't tournament or whatever, and they leave that set, that's good and all, they understand that, but now they're stuck.
Yeah, and their like whole day could be ruined.
Yeah, essentially, and it's just like, well, shit, how do I get this person to let it go outside of, and you know, that's a good answer, you know, take a step back, go splash some water in your face, go go goose fraba yourself for a few minutes. You know, if
Yeah,
not
dude.
everyone works the same. You know, maybe a smoke isn't always the best, but you know, some people maybe you need a little tiny quick hit of a cartridge or something like that, or a little cigarette or something. Go chill the fuck out.
Yeah, dude. Or I love like just getting a meal, man. I
Yeah, go
love
get
like,
some food. Yeah, exactly.
here,
Like,
dude. There's a picture on my face. I'll send it to you in Discord.
got
And
you.
it's after it's that tournament where I got to fight Lucky at, and I almost I'm not gonna say I almost beat him, but I had a good set with him.
Got you.
And the picture just is like the perfect like after smash face, basically.
I feel
If
that.
I can find it somewhere here.
Everyone on netplay thinks I'm the lamest fox for dash dance, grab or up smash up tilt. I understand, but I'd rather embrace it than try to change my playstyle to fit what other people feel is cool. I'll be the lamest fox and have fun with it 100%. Yeah, I feel that. That's definitely the mentality I kind of take. Like I'm doing me, you know. You do you.
All right, let's see. Oh, damn it. There it was. Here we go.
Ooh, yes, my last emote's finally here. Let's go.
Here you go, dude. This was me after a melee tournament. This was me decompressing, dude. It's sending in Discord right now.
Got you.
But I'm coming up on a 5-hour stream, so I'll probably be ending here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a great little conversation. Nice little hour, 45, almost
Yeah.
2 hours. It was great.
Yeah, almost 2 hours. Dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that picture of me, dude. Here, I'll show it on my stream too.
Yeah, let me pull it up. I see. Oh, I see. I love that.
Dude,
Oh
I
my
was just, like,
god.
so
My
smashed
spirit
out,
animal.
dude.
Oh my god. I almost want to
was
like
so-
set that as my profile picture. Jesus.
I was so smashed out of my mind.
I
dude.
could,
was
dude,
like,
you look like someone just like told you the worst news you've ever heard. Like your girlfriend just like had an abortion or something. Not like real shit. Like some just I how do I go on?
Yeah, hold on. There's one other one.
That's so good.
I had another similar face. Let's see, where is it?
This is a pretty great stream, by the way. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Tech. I'm definitely looking to try to make this podcast thing a little bit of a consistent. I have already my next guest for the next week, but we'll see about the third week and whatnot. I don't know about how consistent this will be, but for right now, I definitely want to keep doing this. This is fun.
Yeah, who else do you have sort of like queued it up?
Well, for next one, we're gonna try to make it a little bit more actual, like have a schedule, essentially like a little flow chart of how we're gonna do things. For the next one, keep it more professional. No, like just actual talking and no melee on this one. I'm talking to my my ex roommate Alyssian Ray, and we're gonna be talking about a lot of the stuff that she has, issues with, and obviously these things are applicable to plenty of other people. So it's not just simply her. One of those, like some of the things is like we talked about like salt, so we can probably talk about that too. There's also like the imposter syndrome, bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, dude, that's a big thing.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to leave that one for her, because I know she suffers from that a lot, and I've suffered from that a lot too. So like
Yeah.
I think almost everyone kind of has a little bit.
Dude, it's interesting. Yeah, especially when you get like some attention, you're like, oh, do I deserve it?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, and it's just such an easy way to just constantly take away like credit from yourself. Just every single potential chance you ever have to feel good about yourself, you just slap your hand like, nope, you can't feel good. You're just like, come on now.
Dude, there's another picture I sent in the Discord.
Gotcha.
This was right after losing to a puff, getting like up throw rested multiple times.
Oh my god, that's actually amazing. Hold on, now I have to send this through my phone into my Discord, and I'm going to show it on chat. I'll show it to you. It'll be perfect for this actual Oh my god, it's great.
Yeah,
You're
dude,
gonna love it.
that was me just being like so done.
You're just
Not Bubby, thank you for following the stream. We are at the ass end of it. We've been having an awesome talk here with Galen the Wise. Are you gonna be streaming? I could raid you.
Probably will continue to be streaming. Yeah, I'm just gonna probably be doing some melee unranked for a little bit, maybe some direct after a little bit, but probably continue on.
Right on, man. Well, I'll hit you with the raid. I'll be ending here in the next minute or two.
Oh, for sure, dog. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Where is that fucking image? I want to send it to you and show it on my stream. It's this really funny Jigglypuff photo that I thought was very amusing. I wanted to send it to you.
Alright, everybody in my chat, thank you for hanging out. Nice 5-hour stream. We ate a fuckload of donut holes today.
Did you actually? That's dope.
Dude, I ate 47 donut holes.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
You...
And I got 50 bits for it. That was cool.
Oh, okay. Eating for... Oh, all right. Easy, dog. oh, I found it. Hold on, let me send this to you. This is exactly how you probably... Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that was exactly...
Ahoy, SpongeBob me Bob! I messed up my DI and will die out 20%.
Sponge boy me Bob. Alright, well, dude, it was a pleasure talking with you, man. I don't know, let me know if you upload it on YouTube or whatever you do with it. Of course, you have full freedom to do whatever you see fit.
Absolutely.
Chop it up, splice it, throw it all over the internet.
Same thing with you, dog. Whatever you want to do with it as well.
Yeah, great conversation.
Absolutely.
And, I'm gonna hit you with that raid, so get ready.
I appreciate you, dog. You're awesome.
All right, take care, bro.
You too, bro. Yo, what's up, Josh? How you doing, baby? Whoa. This one needs to... Alright, hold on. I'm doing good, bro. Just hit affiliate recently. Oh, let's go. Congratulations. Enjoy new net play? That's dope, dude. That's really dope. How you been? I've been pretty good, man. How you been? How you been, though? Soul. What's up, Soul? Yo, Swami. Thanks for the raid, baby. Appreciate you. Oops. Yo, what's up, Tristan? Welcome back in, man. You know, stressed about money and my new job, but otherwise doing okay. Enjoying new Paper Mario. Dude, how is that game? I hear really good things about the new Paper Mario. Like, it's actually very much worth buying in comparison to, like, say, Sticker Star or whatever that paint game was. Hi everyone from Swami Stream. How are you all? I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast that we and Swami and I did. I'll probably more than likely be hitting that boy up to do some more of that stuff because I definitely enjoy talking with him. He seems like another fellow psych head, so I feel like that's really good synergy for that type of flow of podcast. So I'll probably hit him up again sometime soon, and we'll do more of that. Talk about more stuff. Have probably a little bit the same. We'll probably do the same stuff when I play against Swami and we do the podcast. I'll probably keep it really nice and loosey goosey with him and play games while we talk. And then for other people, I might just keep it a little bit more professional. Hey, Vagabond.